A special guest in the studio with us, Sam Cawthorn, author of Bounce Forward. It is literally hot off the press. Now, spirituality, that near-death experience, what was it like for you?
You know, Danny, they say that when you die, your entire life flashes in front of you. They say that, you know, the first time you rode your bike, your first kiss, your entire life flashes right there in front of your eyes. I feel ripped off. You know, that didn't happen to me, but what did happen to me, and I don't talk about it much, it was like a very bright light. It was whiter than white, brighter than bright, and this light very slowly came towards me, and what seemed like days, this light then rested itself on me, and then I found, I felt this peace, I felt this warmth, and then I found myself waking up after being on life support for a week. So it was a very spiritual moment for me.
You didn't want to stay with the light? You didn't want to go?
Look, I think one of the biggest things that I was emotional about through my accident and through that whole rehabilitation was my kids. You know, and I didn't really care that I lost my arm or anything. For me, it was more about how is my kids are going to react. You know, one of the biggest things that I miss now, and only having one arm, is not being able to lift my kids up with both of my hands. So for me, I could not even imagine my kids growing up without a dad, my wife growing up without a husband. So, you know, I had to fight. I had to fight for them. So there was no way at all that I was going to go towards that line.
Now, in this fight, you came up with 4 principles. And you've already told me, but I want you to tell the audience why number 2 is so important.
Yeah. So the number 2 principle for anyone at all to bounce forward through a crisis is a thing I like to call proximity is power. Now, Danny, there's a long line of research now that says that we are the average of our 5 closest friends. The company that we keep determine who we are. And so for me, one of the biggest contributors of me overcoming a massive adversity quite miraculously was that I was surrounded with people that influenced me in a very positive way. And actually this research also says it's the same with our weight, with our bank account balance, with our energy, with our productivity, that we are the average of our 5 closest friends. So I wanted to make sure that I surrounded myself with people that influenced me in a positive way, people that inspired me to want to be better. And so some of my proximity at the moment, they are profound, the best entrepreneurs in the world, the most amazing fathers, dad. It's really cool.
What role did your wife play in that, in the 5?
So my wife, without a doubt, she was the backbone behind everything. I mean, and imagine her journey as well. Here, you know, suddenly her husband is now in hospital. Actually, at first they told her that they didn't even know if her husband was going to wake up from being on life support. They told her initially, look, we understand that you guys have got 2 little kids. They'll probably grow up without a father. You better start making preparations. He's not going to make it. And so it would have been tough for her. And then even when waking up from a coma, I was then on life support. You know, then I was in hospital for 5 months. I was in a wheelchair for a year. She had to take care of the kids, take care of even me when I got home. And so without a doubt, she has been the backbone, and I owe a lot of my life to her.
Some would say that you need that truth, that you need that honesty. You know, the cold, hard facts are your husband's going to die. And all the rest is going to be a bonus. But Bounce Forward doesn't say that, does it?
Yeah, look, without it, Bounce Forward looks at the optimistic, looked at the optimism. Actually, it's quite interesting. The 4th principle in Bounce Forward is called leveraging positivity to fuel success. So it's all about consciously deciding, wait, what is the optimistic, angle to all this? How can we leverage our own happiness, positivity in order for us to get through this? Because as you know, happiness, positivity does lead to success if we consciously decide that we are going to get through.
Huge story. If you've just joined us, this is a man that's lost the use of his right leg. He's lost his right arm, and instead of giving up and being told what everybody else was told, come on, you'll bounce back, he didn't. He's bounced forward. So he's on a speaking circuit around the world. He's written a book, but more importantly, he's filling his life not just with bouncing forward, but also your family. Your family has grown since this. She's had 2 daughters before the accident, and I just want to get a little personal now, if you don't mind, Sam. You've increased the size of your family.
I have. My wife and I welcomed our youngest to the family. His name is Jacob, a little boy. Actually, it's quite interesting. The doctor, when he found out that my wife was pregnant, obviously after our accident, he came up to me and he goes, "Sam, it's good to know that still we know that something still works." So yeah, now he's 3-4 years old and he's doing really well.
Now I've got to get you to tell the audience a story around the Young Australian of the Year. Of course, you get to meet some famous people, but you've also got a wicked sense of humour.
Look, I do this. So basically how it works is when you win the Young Australian of the Year, this is from my home state down there in Tassie, they fly us through to Canberra. So here I am in Canberra, but I'm thinking, what can I do in order to make the Prime Minister of Australia to remember me? So it was Kevin Rudd at the time. And so Adam Gilchrist, Glenn McGrath, a few other guys were there. And so I went up to meet the Prime Minister of Australia, but I had my other arm on. Now, my other arm is like a cosmetic arm, so you can't even notice that I've got a prosthetic arm. I walk up to my Prime Minister of Australia, and as he went to come over to me to shake my hand, as he went to grab my hand came off into his hand. And obviously, his wife Therese was there, Adam Gill, Rove McMahon. They just started cracking up laughing. The world's media came in taking photos, and here's Prime Minister Kevin Rudd just handing me back my hand. It was a very funny moment.
Now, you've gone from an ordinary prosthesis, which just takes the place of the arm, to an arm that works. I mean, you've just taken the hand off that, and we'll have this up on our website. You can see it on the webcam. Tell us about this arm. Now, I also know that your batteries are flat because you've been really busy showing people how it works, so you can't really do that. But tell us what it does.
So basically, my arm it's actually the most advanced bionic arm in the world right now. It's programmed via my iPhone 5, so I've got an app for my bionic arm. But the arm is connected onto my nerve endings and on my muscles, so as I think, it'll actually then operate. So there's 7 motors all throughout the hand. I can operate each individual finger as well as my wrist. Actually, my wrist will go around and will keep going round and round and round, which is great. But all up, I've actually got 7 arms, Danny. How many do you have?
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of its use, I mean, is it sensitive? I mean, if you had to pick up an egg, for instance, a raw egg, you have an ability to literally feel how powerful or how weak it needs to be?
Yeah, so I can quite easily pick up an egg with my arm. As well as also I can pick up a glass beer bottle and I can crush it with my bare hand, with my hand as well. Actually, I've started a show on YouTube called Will It Crush? And so each and every week I'm getting something different and I'm crushing it with my bare hand. So yeah, I can sort of have sensitivity on there as well. So I can't necessarily feel exactly how much how hard I'm holding it, but I can, sort of gauge by how much pressure I'm putting through my nerves and on my muscles, in order to make sure that I'm not grabbing it too hard.
That's amazing technology. I mean, it really is amazing technology. Now, with the technology, you mentioned your iPhone. Okay, I've got my phone here. End of the day, charge it up, plug it in, pick it up in the morning. It's going. I mean, you do the same with your arm. I mean, do you just plug it in? How does it work?
That's exactly right. So I take off my arm, I plug it in, I charge it overnight, and then the arm then will work for probably the next 48 or maybe 24, 48 hours. So literally I haven't charged it now for about 2.5 days. And so that's why the arm is flat. But obviously when I charge it, then I'll put it back on and keep going forward. Keep bouncing forward.
I'm so disappointed that you didn't charge it before you come in here. You've obviously been very, very busy. Now, look, your kids are just your dad. Your arm is the way it is. How do other children react to your arm?
Well, it was quite funny. The other day I went into my little boy's, preschool, and I walked in there, but I didn't have my bionic arm on, so it was just a little stump that sort of came out of my shoulder. And all these kids ran over to me and they go, "Wow, where's your arm? What happened to your arm? Where is it?" And I said to all these little kids as a joke, I said, "Oh, look, I've lost it. I lost it under the tree over there." So these kids ran over underneath the tree to go and look for my arm. And so, look, it's a very novelty. My little girls, you know, they're so proud of when Dad comes to pick them up at school, and they bring all the kids over and look at my dad's arm. It's really cool, and yeah, so it's great.
There'll be people listening who've gone through some major crisis. There'll be some minor crisis. Is the way through them, is the bounce forward the same?
Yeah, look, the way how I've set up the principles in this book is to help anyone at all overcome any adversity or tough time or crisis, whether it's financial or relationship or the death of their loved ones, or even if they're in business and they've got this massive downturn or they need to reinvent themselves because of the, you know, the financial crisis, whatever that might be. I've developed these principles in this book that anyone at all can bounce forward from an adversity. Anyone. There's also even a 12-day crisis turnaround challenge in here. So it's literally, we've now proven that this 12-day challenge, anyone at all can overcome any adversity or problem or tough times if they go through each individual day. And so, you know, this is the way how we've written the book. There's a lot of all the latest research coming out in there of positive psychology. All my methodologies in there is completely proven as well.
So from being banged up in a car, cut out of it, life support, you're a different person. You're in a different world. You're in a different space. You're doing so much.
It's like as if I now look through the eyes of someone totally different. And so even though obviously I'm physically changed, but now since after my accident, I now look at things in a whole different way. And the last chapter of the book is called the Bounce Forward Movement. And it's all about how you can help other people to bounce forward from their problem with something that you've bounced forward from. So say, for instance, if you've overcome cancer, you can now help other people, you know, have the mindset to overcome that. If you've overcome the death of a loved one, you can go out and help them bounce forward from that. Or for me, I've overcome now a personal accident and injury, now live with a disability. So do you know what I now do? We actually have now started this charity 4 years ago where we now help kids that live with a disability in developing worlds. So we've set up 4 schools in developing worlds, and I go over there 4 times a year, and I work with my team over there. We've now helped over 400 kids to overcome a disability there in developing worlds, which really are the true poorest of the poor. So that's how I've bounced forward, and anyone at all can help other people. It's like pay it forward, but looking at it in a specific way.